Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to We Are Movie Club, where we get together and talk about movies. Sorry, I had something silly planned, and then I realized that I messed it up, like, immediately. So,
You wouldn't believe this was scripted, would you?
no, I'm just sitting here looking at a piece of paper that says, "You fucked up." That's my teleprompter. Just a negative, a negative reinforcement message. No, I was going to make a joke about playing video games, but because we do that sometimes, which would be fun to do. It'd be a nice relief, because I spent a good bit of this week, I put it on my bloggity thing, fighting with my server, and then today I accidentally wiped it out.
Oh, well done.
Well, I should have a backup, but my backups are not proper clones, they're just file backups, so I'm still going to have to reinstall a bunch of stuff and then just drop the data in. So as soon as I do that, I'll have my Minecraft server and everything back, and it's been a weird week for technology, and then trying to get everything ready for VidCon. I got to clean like a bitch the next 3 days. There's dust everywhere.
This is the longest introduction you've ever done.
Sorry. Okay, so who we are. I'm Kamurai. I'm a programmer by day, a YouTuber by night, and a game designer whenever I damn well get to it, which hasn't been this week. Curse you, computer! My friend here.
I'm Charlie. I am back this week. I'm back from France. I have just about got all the beer out of my system, and I now have more, because now that I have no more university until September, I'm just turning into a drunk.
That totally ruined the timing of my joke. Le Frog! No, I know some people somewhere would be upset that you would go to France and drink beer and not wine. Are you a wine guy or no?
Not really. I can take it in very small doses, but no, I drank French lager though. It was French beer I was drinking, so.
So you were supporting the French economy?
Kind of, yeah.
See, I think other people would be upset by that as well, but this is America. We tend to irrationally blame people for things.
I couldn't possibly comment.
No, the Revolutionary War? Yeah, like, oh yeah, from France, Iraq, World War II. Oh, you gave up and ran away already. Okay. No, I know a French person watching that would be insulted, but I don't mean that horribly. I promise.
No one's watching us from France. It's fine.
That doesn't mean that they have to be from France. It could be someone from, like, Ghana who just really likes France. They could be upset.
Quebec.
Charlie, you aren't being universally accepting of people's opinions. Doesn't mean they have to be... I'm sorry, go ahead.
As far as I was aware, this channel is inappropriate for all ages, and I fully intend on keeping it that way.
I totally endorse that theory of life. But because by all means, people who don't like what they're watching can watch something else, and I encourage you to, because if you're not enjoying something you're watching, then why the fuck are you watching it, you know?
Exactly. Speaking of which, we've got 2 weeks of stuff to talk about, because I wasn't here to tell you about my opinions of Red versus Blue.
This is why I'm a horrible person, because I set up that segue perfectly, and I'm just so proud that you picked up on it that I needed to break the stride we built.
Much more by luck than judgment, let me be honest.
No, I think after you do this a while, you gain muscle memory and you learn how things happen. And you've been dealing with me long enough, you kind of know what's up most of the time, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty much just been the two of us now for quite a few weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, like ever since Mark got better, and I'm so happy he did. I'm really looking forward to shaking his hand at VidCon, but I don't know.
Ah, yes, he's going to VidCon, isn't he?
Well, he lives like around the corner, as far as I know.
It'd be stupid not to, then, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them out there too. I think Mommy Clover who lives out there, but like, I don't know. There's just all the noise about the different people who are going to be around, and yeah. So there's if you're going to VidCon and you see this, there will be lots and lots of people there. Unfortunately, I don't know if like the Vlogbrothers and Maker Studios have a one-off or have an offing, but I don't think anyone from Polaris has made announcements about VidCon.
I I don't know. I mean, I've heard bits and pieces, but that's from like the obvious ones like Discovery are sending loads of people, SourceFed obviously. Um, a few of the movie clubbers that I know are going. So, but no, from like the major studios, I haven't really heard anything.
Well, not I didn't say Maker Studios, because
Ah,
they're
right, yeah.
yeah they're behind Polaris, which now Disney is backing because Maker is Disney company now. So there might be like something where either it's just not worth their time, because I haven't heard anything about Geek and Sundry either. And I know Geek and Sundry's kind of ran on a shoestring budget at the moment. So unless they can make some scratch or some good deal off it, they may not want to be involved because I know there's no payment for like autographs and photos and things at
Mm.
VidCon. But I'm sure there's merchandise you can buy. That doesn't make any sense that
I'd
you
be
wouldn't be
very
able to do
surprised
that.
if there wasn't.
But Rooster Teeth, Bernie Burns is actually speaking on like 7 different panels or something. Um, I need to take the schedule and put it in a spreadsheet so that I can mark my itinerary properly.
I was about to say you making a plan for things you want to see and places you want to be at, because I know that like these places it's just like shit ton of panels, isn't it?
Well, yeah, with the volume of people in the convention center, I'm pretty sure that you have to do that. So I need to put that in a spreadsheet and figure out what I want to be doing, so that I know where I have to go and I can just work my way through the crowds to get there properly. But I want to see a lot of the industry stuff. That was one of the weird things that we had, like when VidCon was first announced. I was talking to people and they were like, "Oh, well, we want to do this and this and this," and I'm like, "Well, I wanted to do this and this and this, but it's all in the industry track, so I guess I'm not doing it." Because I actually want to go and see some of what's going on with how YouTube works and the people who make things happen.
Yeah, rather than just the people that are there, I suppose. I don't know. It's weird because until a couple of months ago, I didn't even know VidCon was a thing.
Well,
Um,
that's the thing, is that it's growing every year. Um, but I don't know. I don't think it's respected worldwide. But I mean, how much bigger can it get when you barely fit people in the convention as it is, or in the center as it is right now?
well, this is the thing. I don't even know how many people they expected to be there. I would expect a fair few.
I don't remember the numbers, but I know like it's not doubled 2/3. I think Hank Green said it like it grew by 2/3 every year. Um, so like it didn't quite or it didn't double, but it grew by that much. I don't know.
A lot, I think, is the
Yeah,
answer.
it's a lot. It's a lot to work with, and it's a lot to do. I was thinking about like how much fun it would actually be. Granted, it's a lot of work to actually help organize that. Because I was thoroughly unsatisfied with vidcon.com/agenda, where it has like all the events. It needed to be like a day-by-day calendar, like in Excel,
Mm.
which you can do in HTML. You can just make a table with borders and plop it down. It's not that big a thing, but they've got so many other things to deal with, that unless somebody just does it and then gives it to them, because that's a lot of what that community does, it's hard to do it. And I'm not saying I wouldn't be willing to share it, but I don't know how to get that to anybody who could actually make it happen. You know?
Yeah.
And then you got to deal with like file formats and everything. So I guess I'd have to make it a web page and give them the code.
All fun.
But then it has to be compatible with their web. There's so many stupid things that are involved. It would actually just be easier for somebody who's already doing it. But they're going to do the app too. They're going to make an app for the phone.
Right, yeah.
So theoretically, I think you should be able to like tick what you want to see, and it'll let you know when it's coming up.
That'd be handy, yeah, and like make
Um,
your own kind of schedule, I suppose.
yeah, RTX is supposed to be doing something else, like or something very similar, so that should be a thing. Um,
Of course, you've got RTX coming up as well, haven't you?
yeah, it's the week after. That still blows me away that they were so close together because I wasn't expecting that. Um,
Do you think that's deliberate?
no, because it's Fourth of July weekend. I think the plan was one of two things. It was either Fourth of July weekend to make it like a special event, or Fourth of July weekend to keep people from wanting to go to keep their numbers down.
That's an interesting theory. I've never really heard it. Them trying to keep the numbers down. I would have thought like
Well,
keep the numbers high.
it's summer, and like you get all these kids and stuff that want to come there, but it's Fourth of July weekend, so they a lot of people have plans or specific Independence Day stuff here because it's a major holiday. So if
Ah,
you do
yes,
it
I
then,
don't have that issue.
yeah, you guys don't celebrate the day we kicked your butts out. Um, so,
We just decided it was best to stop looking after you. That's what it was.
yeah, it's like we're gonna run away from home. Like, oh, you're not. We're gonna come get you. And then you came, and then we shot BBs at you, and you were like, fine, live in the box in the backyard. Then and we did
Yeah.
on the other side of the pond. Um, no, all history aside. So, but what that does is that keeps it limited to the people who really want to be there, and not just going to steal seats away from other people. And it keeps it more adult oriented.
Yeah,
Because
I suppose you're being more selective with your audience, so yeah, you can pick
yeah.
and choose almost. Yeah.
And RTX, like PAX, is at the point where like they need to turn people away with their numbers, not like VidCon where they are still trying to grow. Because I think VidCon may have reached that point this year finally that like, hey, we kind of need to keep this number for next year.
Yeah.
But there's always a small percentage of people who don't show up. So depending upon what that overhead is, maybe that's a thing that they're not as worried about. I don't know.
It should be good for you though. It certainly looks like it'll be a big and good event.
Yeah, it looks fun and all. I'm just kind of nervous about traveling per se, not the actual event thereof,
Mm.
but doesn't look like my lower third's working. Um,
No,
but
it's not.
it doesn't matter. But just not having my stuff when I travel, um, it's not a big deal. I'll get over it. But I'm just used to having a bunch of stuff here because I make my home a handy place. So I'm sure at some point during the trip I'll go, well, I'll just use this. I'm like, oh, it's at home. And it doesn't make any sense to buy one or whatever because what am I going to do? Am I going to take it with me? Really? I'm going to throw it out before I leave? I'm just hoping I remember to leave my knife at home when I get because the last time I flew on a plane, I want to say, was it the last time? I don't know. I was in Atlanta. I was working for Krispy Kreme, and I had a box cutter, or maybe it was for the warehouse. Anyways, I had a box cutter to open boxes, and apparently it fell in my bag. I had put it like on top of a box, and it fell in my bag because I didn't know it was there. And I went to the airport, and I was like, oh, that I use that for work. I don't know how it got in my bag. And they're like, well, we're gonna throw it away. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I had to buy a new box cutter when I got back.
Fun. I nearly did
Yeah.
that going on holiday once to realise that an old penknife was in the bottom of my bag, and they let me keep it because they didn't think a 15-year-old was going to go on a massive riot.
See, and like I'm torn because I'm like, we should be fine. Like we shouldn't have to be worried about that. People should be able to manage the situation on the plane. Like, of course, you're not going to bring ordnance on the plane. Ballistics, you should have to have a license to carry on a plane. I'm okay with that if you have a license to carry on a plane, provided both countries Arrival and Destination are licensed for that. Um,
Mm.
but like Knife on a Plane, that should be all right at this point. Um, but if you're gonna have the rules, don't let the 15-year-old go in with a penknife because someone else could take it from
Yeah, that's a problem.
him. That's just where my brain's at. I'm of two minds for it. But I'm someone who personally thinks like everyone should just be armed. Because that's to me that's even. It's like everybody has a gun, then people are a lot less likely to do anything out of the line. But I'm sure it's a totally foreign concept to you.
Yeah, I think if we carried that argument on, we would probably disagree quite strongly, quite quickly. But
And
should we
that's
talk?
fine.
Should we talk about movies? You
Okay,
know.
what have you been watching? It's 2 weeks worth, Charlie. Give me
Well,
your best shot.
well, the World Cup started, so I've been watching that instead. As predictably, I'd rather wish I hadn't though. It's not really been going well. Um, that
Boring movie.
yeah, it's such a rubbish movie. The acting is terrible. But no, I watched season 3 of Red vs Blue and The Expatriate, and I today watched Wimbledon for Mr. Harry Britt, but that's a
Is
really
that a movie?
shit. Yeah, it's a shit film.
It's a shit movie?
It's a
Who's
the
in
only
it?
saving grace is the only saving grace is that Kirsten Dunst is in it.
Oh, wait, I think I know what you're talking about. I don't remember that being horrible.
It's tennis film.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's probably the worst part of it. Um,
But it's just so it's a rom-com based on tennis.
is it a rom-com?
Yes.
I'm looking at the title, and I remember this. I remember watching this, but I don't remember what I thought.
They set up the romance is pretty much set up within the first 15 minutes, and it just sort of carries on. It's just the fact it's got a tennis theme that no, it left me frustrated. I remember watching this when I was a lot younger and thinking it was a good film. I've gone back to it now and think it's just terrible.
So do you think it's just kind of cliche?
It's very cliche, and it's just it's the typical struggling person getting the inspiration and motivation from a woman in his life to overcome anything film. And it's I know there's only a limited amount of things you can do with a sports themed film. You can't really do a great deal, but I don't know, it just seems like the sport very much took a back seat for the romance between the two characters, and it just seemed really artificial insofar as that he walks into the wrong hotel room in the first 15 minutes and she walks out of the shower naked, and then 20 minutes later they're a couple.
So it's that early on that they actually become a couple?
Essentially.
So where's the conflict at?
Well, the conflict is that Sam Neill plays the incredibly overbearing father coach role, and then you've got the stay away from my daughter, but I don't want to stay away from your daughter, so I'm going to sneak into the house at midnight and ruin her chance.
Doesn't approve?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not the daddy doesn't approve. It's basically you are a distraction. She has bigger dreams than being with you.
Well, it's an extension of the daddy doesn't approve at the very least, but that's where the sports come in. It's like she's training to do this sports thing, regardless of what the sport is. So it's formulaic. Maybe cliche was the wrong word.
Yeah, it is. It's very formulaic. It's very, well, I don't know. Cliche is probably the right word. It's. If I said to you, it's a rom-com film to do with sport, you'd probably be able to guess the bulk of the story before you even watched it. It's that kind of thing.
I mean, it depends. Occasionally, you can do something special, and that's what makes a good movie out of it. Not just that it does the same thing that everything else does, and I guess that's what it is to be cliche, correct?
Yeah. I mean, one of what I felt to be one of the best sport-related films is one called Goal, which is like a young Mexican kid who sneaks across the American border spends like the first 10 or 20 years of his life in an American city. I want to say LA, but I can't remember. And then ends up coming to England to try and play football. And you have the whole struggling to make it, romance of a woman makes him suddenly on top of the world. And then it nearly falls apart, and then you have the final redemption at the end. So, there you've got the formula is almost entirely the same, and you've just changed the sport, basically.
There is a movie. I don't know what you said that made me think of it. Oh, I can only see back so far. It's the girl from Pretty Little Liars. I'm sorry, one of the girls. It's actually the main lesbian character's girlfriend in the current season.
That doesn't mean a thing to me, but
I understand, but it's all reference. But and if someone else has seen it, they may understand. But she's in a movie, and I thought it was a tennis movie. But that stands out to me as something different. I'm trying to look it up real quick. But I gotta go through a couple things to get there. And if I can find the movie, I have something to talk about. Do you have? I want to talk about that more because it's finally a movie that we've both seen.
I can go on to Red versus Blue while you're looking for it if you like.
Oh, go ahead. We'll try to stretch that a little bit.
Season 3 is a lot better.
I'm glad there's an upswing.
I'm starting to get there with it now, and I think season 3 is a noticeable improvement as far as characters and plot both go.
Okay, that was going to be my question before we get into anything intense. What would be the thing that made it better for you? But I think you just kind of said it.
Yeah, as I said in my review, very cheap plug there. I think the main improvement is with Sarge, if anything. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got the feeling of rather than just being kind of like the person in power, but still just being one big running joke. I don't know. I felt that he took sort of more control of the situations, especially in the early episodes. And remember, I'm watching this using episodes rather than the big the one.
Yeah, sadly.
So I felt that was better, and I thought the dynamic of Red and Blue actually having to team up with one another was interesting. So no, I found myself watching more of it than the first two, where I was kind of just like, yeah, okay, that's on in the background. I found myself watching more of this series.
It drew you in. It's definitely more compelling. The first scene where they're at Beaver Creek is the level with the grunts, the blue and red teams that are fighting each other repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of that? Because that's almost its own little like sub-series.
Well, it wasn't bad. This is the thing. I don't know how really to sort of talk it through because, well, I'm not exactly the massive fan that you are. So
No.
it wasn't bad, but I'm not sure. I think they couldn't, like you said, it's almost its own little mini series, but I think breaking it off into its own actual mini series would have been a terrible idea.
No, it was such a neat idea to me.
Yeah, it's a useful little distraction. One thing, like the whole not like the computer and the bomb thing, like going back in time and like in a couple of thousand years you'll be the one to. That actually was in. Oh God, what?
No, keep going.
I was about to say, I was kind of watching that thinking, okay, where are they going with this? And that almost kept me going because it was like, okay, so where, they could take this one of a couple of different ways. I want to see which way they do take it. So
okay. Sorry, it's the time travel. It's my favorite time travel because no one else does fatalistic time travel. I'm sure you've heard me talk about this at some point.
Yeah, but go on anyway.
Well, most people try to explore the idea of rewinding time allows you to do alternate timelines. So it's the many worlds theory, which I've never agreed with. I'm like, that's bullshit. So like, but it's in the same way it causes more interesting stories because once you've gone into the new timeline, you can never go back to the original timeline because you can only travel back to your existing timeline. So granted that makes for a lot more interesting things, but like one shots like movies for sure. I like the idea of fatalistic time travel where you can't change anything. If you go back in time, then you've already gone back in time. So the events that you perform in the past are part of the causation to get you to where you are to go back in the past.
That just about makes sense.
Yeah, and it preserves energy and mass as well. Because in like a many worlds theory, like you're suddenly adding this mass that didn't exist before into this new universe. It doesn't displace anything. There's no repercussions for it. Occasionally, people will do like space-time continuum tears because people have touched themselves or something. Really?
Sorry.
You got a giggle out of that?
Sorry.
But sorry, it's hilarious.
You missed me.
I did miss you, buddy. I did. But I'm super happy about that. That's my favorite part, especially leaving all the extra copies of Church in that season. What did you think of that in particular?
The what? Sorry.
The extra copies of Church.
Ugh, messes me about. It's just like, wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? It's that kind of thing. I don't deal with multiple incarnations of characters very well.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's the same character at different points in time of their own personal timeline. It's just essentially you take if you want to look at it from like a mini worlds theory even, you take their destiny timeline and you just loop it a bunch. So I don't know. That's what that is, but it's a fun concept and it's actually a good setup for later.
Spoiler alert.
No, it's not even a spoiler. It's just it is. There's so many small things throughout the first 3 seasons we've watched so far that are setups for things they haven't even written yet at that point. So totally in awe of it. But once they get out of the okay, for someone who didn't play the games, did you enjoy seeing all the new scenes, like the new places they went to?
Yeah, it's because this was the season where they went into Halo 2, didn't it?
No, they did. That wasn't quite what I was talking about. We'll come back to that. I was talking about like they go to Sidewinder and they started out in like Beaver Creek.
Oh yeah, I did notice it change a bit. Yeah, I mean it's a refreshing change. I mean you get to the 3rd season and sometimes things get stale. So I mean it was something I didn't really notice too much. I'll be honest, but no, it certainly wasn't a bad or jarring change.
Okay, well that's good. I thought it was refreshing because I think that was one of their big problems in the first couple seasons is that like it's the same shit. So how do we make this new? Well, they're like, well, we could have them go somewhere else. Well, like how do you leave a box canyon?
Yeah, I suppose that's the big problem because those levels they're just levels, so they're only ever going to be limited in space and what you can do in them.
Yeah, because that's the whole point of the game is that you can't get out of the level you're fighting in. But what was I gonna say? But using the teleporters, like reprogramming the teleporters, I thought was really kind of innovative for the limited sources they had. It was a neat way to go about it. Now, jumping into Halo 2, did you notice a general improvement in your acceptability of it?
Acceptability how? How do you mean?
Well, because like my stance has kind of been that like one of the reasons that you don't enjoy it as much, I'm not saying that you'll ever like really enjoy it as much as me, is that you're watching it episode by episode, which breaks it up, and you have the beginning and the end, and you get tired of hearing that shit over and over again.
Yeah,
Um,
that intro theme is getting a bit wearing now, I must admit, after 50 odd episodes.
and I don't blame you. Don't blame you at all. Um, and then the other thing is that you have like you're working with like half a screen in a day and age of technology where that's unheard of, and you're not used to seeing things like that. But now that we've gone to Halo 2, the graphics are a little better, so the assets look a little bit more pleasing, and we can see a little bit more of the screen.
I'll be honest, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, I'm just taking this series entirely in context. I mean, I know that the graphics and the engine, because season 3 was 2005, so this is nearly 10 years old. So I take that in like this is gaming 10 years ago. So I'm taking it as it's actually pretty good. So I'm trying not to compare it to what we have now because obviously everything's so different.
Oh yeah, and it
So
doesn't mean that.
it's not really a problem.
Well, and the
No,
graphics
no,
aren't
that's
even that
100%.
bad. Like if you were to go back and play the original Halo, it wouldn't be like, what the fuck is this? Because
Mm,
it's not like I handed you an Atari 2600, but it's enough of a difference that you'll notice. That's why they have like the Halo 10th anniversary one where you can actually flip the render engine back and forth,
mhm.
um, which I don't know, like I think is neat, but it's not a big deal. It's like, whatever. Um, what was I gonna say? But I'm trying because I watched them all together and it blurred a little bit, so I had to make sure I wasn't saying things about the wrong seasons in my videos. But now trying to do it on the spot, I'm trying to censor myself because what's the last thing that happens in season 3? Do you remember?
Oh god, I can't remember. I think the battle with Emily had started, and I have a feeling kind of everyone went, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, and something was about to explode. But
Oh,
I'm
it's
not.
yeah, the robots run in and then something takes them out. That's right.
Yeah,
And then Church gets scared. I think is the last
that
thing. 'Cause
sounds
you
about right.
finally see the Great Destroyer. That's what it is. That's the last scene. You see the Great Destroyer, and it's a elite asset in the background. So they're using the elite as an alien, which is one of the huge things for season 2 that they wanted to that everyone was expecting at the time.
Yeah, the problem is I watched this a couple of weeks ago, so my memory's fading on it already.
Yeah,
Um,
and no worries. It's fading for me, and I love this shit. And then I watched the other 2 seasons right after it, so I realized when I went to film that what a mistake that was.
I
But
bet
if
that
you're
was fun.
watching it and you like it, you're like, yeah, I'll have more. You don't want to
Yeah,
stop.
I think that's probably one of the main bits. Although
Um,
to be honest, I'm optimistic about season 4. I think it's definitely on an upward curve as far as I'm concerned now.
just to lower your expectations a tiny bit, it's another dip similar to like season 1 compared to season 2.
Okay,
Because they go through partly because they go through a story adaptation to try to get it like on ball, so they sacrifice a little bit of the humor to get the story straightened out, and then they try to do some things that they just don't have the assets for, because it's their first adventure into doing things that aren't just in the game.
okay, so well, it should still be all right.
Yeah, it's still pretty good up to season 5. But I'm sorry, yeah. But by the time they go to season 6, I think they start using Halo 3. Um, and that's where like we start seeing the graphics get more modern compared to what we consider modern now. And somewhere in the next trilogy, they start dealing with CGI.
That'll get interesting then. You are planning on taking this through to season 11, I assume?
Yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and charge through it, and have it be done with. Because if I want it, even if it's the last thing that happens on We Are Movie Club, I want it to be part of it. And we've already gone so far to get so short away to me with season 6. I think season 5 will be the week after I get back. If I looked at that right.
Hmm.
And then the next 5 seasons will take us, I think, into the fall. When does your school start back up?
Uni doesn't start until the end of September, so
So maybe right before then.
this is, of course, assuming that it is just the two of us. If anybody's watching this and wants to put in for a week, then do feel free.
Save Charlie. Hashtag save Charlie. Um, no, I'm all for it. It's just what it is at this time and place and thing and stuff. Um, but yeah, I think you'll really start to get into it in season 6. By my opinion, by far in the best season. And then as we get into more Project Freelancer stuff in the next seasons, and they start doing more body motion capture stuff, I think
Yeah.
it'll really grab your attention.
Okay.
So it's kind of like we've been in the prologue this entire time.
Yeah, it's just the build up, really.
Yeah. So as much as we could have just jumped into season 6, I'm glad we've gone through it. I did find the movie I was talking about.
Which one was it?
16 Love. I don't know what Alan's category is for this month, but if he's doing shitty tennis romances, this should be on his list.
I hope to God he's not, but he basically cut Disney short by a week so that he could throw this on and start.
Really?
The actual
Cut
competition
Disney
starts
short?
on Monday. He did
Oh.
Mary Poppins, then Bambi, then Wreck-It Ralph, and then left it there. Wreck-It Ralph is amazing. I'm
It's
so
a good
glad I
movie to
watched
end
that.
on, yeah.
Very
You know
strong
what? You
movie
saw
too.
Wreck-It Ralph then, right? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, go for it.
I have a controversial stance on that because I just have a weird perspective on the movie, and it's not like I'm pro what people look at me crosswise for this is, but who it was Ralph, and who was the princess? Penelope?
Vanellope, yeah.
Oh, Vanellope. Okay. Um, okay. To me, that was like a budding romance relationship, and then they just stopped. They're just like, no, you go back and you go back and you can stare at each other through friggin' windows.
Yeah, they did. I suppose now I come to think about it, they did tease it a little bit. Um, but I think with it being fundamentally a kids' film, it could never be anything more than just teasing it.
Well, I'm not saying let's watch them fuck on screen, but um, the whole thing is that they're not. It's like because she is a little girl character, but there is
Yeah.
a significant difference between our world and theirs, because they are just data. But she's a data character that's been around like what 20, 30 years at this point.
Yeah, all the arcade machines are about 30 years old. She is the glitch, which turns out to be a deliberate thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil anything, but yeah, so like her and Ralph are both like 30 years old. They're adults by our standards, if let alone their standards. So like it seems like weird to like just chop that romance off at the knees. And I'm not saying like they even have to kiss, but like something more than like, yeah, we think about each other a lot.
I'm just trying to think where could that have gone?
It was just a weird thing, but like I know people like are like, no, that's a pro parallelism thing, and it's not. I don't see that, but I don't know, like because Disney's big on romance, especially like in their comedies, their happy endings. Even in Wall-E, that was a robot.
I haven't seen Wally, but I'll believe you.
That hurts me a little bit.
It
Next
it's
time
on
you get together
it'll
with
go on the
Disney,
list.
that's the one you guys need to watch next. Next time you
It
have
can go,
romantic movie night.
it can go on the list.
No, it needs to get jumped to the front. No, I'm sure that she has her own list of things she wants to watch with you.
I imagine so. But no, Wreck-It Ralph's a strange one because it was actually my brother that kept bugging me to watch it. He was like, "Do you want to watch this?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure." I took the DVD from him. Have you watched it yet? Have you watched it yet? Have you watched it yet? No. This is one of the very few things you actually care about what I'm doing. But now I've watched it, it's actually really good, and I appreciated all the little gaming sort of franchise references. A lot of them, obviously, I'm a bit young for. So,
Can you
but the
example
ones,
one?
well, the only ones that really related to me were obviously Bowser was in there, some of the Pac-Man stuff was in there. There's a few Sonic references here and there, but that whole general sort of amusement arcade being the focal point of like, a young kid's life, I didn't have that. So
It's very
yeah,
different now. Very different.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I do go to an arcade on very rare occasions, but that was never something that was part of my life growing up.
Yeah, now pretty much if you could play it on a console at home, they don't do it there in arcades anymore. You have like light gun shooters. You have things you get like into a pod and pretend to be a giant mech. Um, Anything that's like you pay a significant amount for a set amount of time, or you is designed to kill you over and over, so you just spend quarters or dollars these days even. It's
Mm.
crazy. I can't imagine sticking a pound in a arcade machine though. Is it like
Again,
that?
it happens on occasions. The arcade near me it actually has a Mario Kart machine, a very old
Yes.
one.
Yes, that's oh man. If we had a gaming podcast, that I would say let's save it for that. But that is a cool new thing that I heard about. It actually made me want to go out to an arcade to see it, to experience it.
Yeah,
Because I keep hearing about that. And it's supposedly it's one of the still great things for older people. Uh, like you remember when a real arcade was, and now I don't know. I don't know what to call them anymore because I'm like this is an arcade.
yeah. This is just yeah,
Um, But I mean, like, I totally would have got if Qbert was, if you had mentioned Qbert, because that was a little before my time. Even I played it when I was a kid, but I don't remember it very clearly. Um, Zangief, did you get the Zangief thing with Street Fighter?
no,
Okay, because I don't know. I mean, they're still doing Street Fighter. He's still a current character, but so is Bowser. But they're both from games that started in the '80s. Like Street Fighter, the original Street Fighter, I think was actually like 1980, and then they brought it back in like '88 or something, and it went
mm,
until like the Super Nintendo got released, and uh, or maybe I'm wrong. No, that timeline doesn't sound right because the Super Nintendo didn't get released until about 90, 92, I think. I don't know. Okay, so movies.
yeah,
Um,
films.
cut
I
my.
watched The Expatriate as well.
Can I talk about 16 Love real quick, and then because I don't have a lot to say about it.
Yes, you can.
That was the lesbian girls movie. Uh, Let me actually say her name because I feel bad now. She does a really good job. She's actually on Suburgatory as well, but her
Right.
name is Lindsay Shaw. Yeah. She's a good actress. But she was in a movie called 16 Love, another tennis romantic comedy, where it's very similar. It's a girl training for like the top tournament or whatever in her age bracket, but she's like in high school. She's not like a young adult like Kirsten Dunst was. But she actually injures herself, so so she can't train as hard as she could. So she's kind of like at a loss for what to do with herself for a
Okay.
couple weeks. So the guy who was hitting on her is also a tennis player, but he's not nearly as good. So he ends up pestering her a little bit, and then he checks in on her because he found out she hurt herself, and she ends up training him for a little bit because she can stand there and yell at him and give him advice and stuff without actually doing much and still be involved. But I think they end up doing like a doubles type thing with it. Um, but it's another thing. It's like, oh yeah, they're gonna get together. It's like, oh, Daddy doesn't approve. Oh, but they're gonna preserve, and it's all about. ultimately finding out like what your purpose in life type thing is,
Hmm.
or what you think your purpose in life should be. So I don't know if Wimbledon had anything like that.
Not really.
Yeah, but that's the type of redeeming quality you can get out of it. Barely redeeming, but it was. I still liked 16 Love. I thought it was a good movie, and I can't remember enough of Wimbledon to support that theory.
It,
For that.
it's worth it if you've got nothing better to watch. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so let's talk about Expatriate a little bit. Yeah, because I'm looking at my watch lists, and I'm gonna bore the shit out of you when we come back to me. Um, but Expatriate, I could not find that movie to save my life for a while. The spelling's all weird in the title.
That could be the fact that it was released under a different name in the States. I don't know how
Oh, what was it released as?
it went under the name of Erased in the States.
Erased.
So it may be on, if it's on US Netflix, it may be under that name. I'm not sure.
Okay, that would explain part of it. So I ended up finding a stream somewhere of Expatriate. Um, you want to kick us off with this since this was your pick, or?
My overriding opinion is that a it's a middle of the road film in an already well done formula. It's it's not a groundbreaking political thriller film. It's I think it's like a poor man's Jason Bourne series. I very much got the opinion, but it was good. I enjoyed watching it, but it certainly could have been done better. I thought some of the characters were quite hollow.
And I'm going to put this out there. You are a spy fan, right? A spy movie fan?
I'm a big spy movie fan, yes.
So what are some of your top spy movies that you can think of?
My ultimate one is The Bourne Ultimatum. I loved that film in the cinema, and I actually need to watch it again. That, and then you're going mainly into James Bond films. I could be here all day talking about Bond. There's a couple of others that what's the name of it? I haven't watched it in years, but there's another one called The Interpreter, which is
Oh
again
yeah.
in a very similar vein, but I can't remember anything about that.
Um, I remember seeing that. I just don't remember what I thought of it, which usually means that like I wasn't that impressed. Or that could have been the one I turned off in the middle. I hardly ever do that.
I don't think I've ever done that in a film, but it's the first time for everything.
Well, and occasionally I just get so frustrated. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? But I can't remember. I can't imagine The Interpreter was one of those. What the hell was that noise? Occasionally the cats will make noises that you're not familiar with. And like I'm like, did an armadillo get in the house? What's happening? But okay, so I don't like when I think spy movie, I think James Bond, of course, Austin Powers, just because it's that closely related in my mind.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. I'll give you that.
Jason Bourne. I actually thought of this as a poor man's Taken.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you to some extent on that.
No, and I'm not expecting you like us to have the same view on this movie at all. Because I'm not a spy movie fan. For those who aren't aware, it's not my genre. It's not where I bake my bread. But it is a fun place to visit on occasion if they make it special. For whatever reason, GoldenEye got me. I did kind of like that.
GoldenEye's one of the best Bond films.
And if you add things like Manchurian Candidate, have you ever seen that one?
No.
It's not quite a spy movie. It's more of a psychological movie because the guy's actually, I don't know if it's hypnotized, but he's brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't know he's the shooter.
Oh, right, okay.
And that's the premise for the movie. So I'm not spoiling anything. There's a whole movie and plot past all that. But it's really good, and I'm totally for that movie. I really like that one. So like if you had something special in there, it's definitely good. Like I like Born Identity. That was okay. Uh, but I liked. Oh, what was that movie? I hate it when I do that to you. I'm sorry. I think of a movie and then I can't remember the title. I want to say it was called Sarah. It was about a little girl who had been like taken to Siberia and trained by like an ex KGB CIA agent.
That,
Like he
that's not
actually
my,
worked
sounds like
both
my kind of
sides.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the whole premise was that like they finally found him. Whoever was after him, they finally tracked him down to the middle of nowhere in the woods, and killed him. But she hid, and then someone else like takes or like comes back to find him and then rescue her, and then she just goes fucking nuts for half the movie. So it's like River Tam as a secret spy agent.
Okay. It's definitely sounds like my kind of thing, but Expatriate was one that could have been done a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the thing. There wasn't anything that made it special. It was super formulaic. The character that the guy, because that's a good actor who he's actually a really good guy, guy actor.
Aaron
Um,
Eckhart.
but his role was super stiff. It was like, how do we survive? How do I get my daughter back? Bruh, 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 bruh. And so I don't know, just
I just felt there was no development in his character. It was like, okay, so you're an expat working in Belgium. You have a daughter. Okay, so what happened to the mother? Is she dead? Are you divorced? You know, there was no real diving into the history, which I think they could have done. It would only have taken 2 minutes. As like a 2 minute flashback. They could have done that. And that would have answered all those questions.
I totally agree.
You only find out halfway that he's ex-CIA.
Well, I mean, he's obviously a spy, so I just assumed some organization made out of letters. Uh, I know it's a really bad perspective to have with these types of movies, but it's really kind of where my brain goes. It's like, yeah.
Well, it's the whole formulaic thing that you're on about. It's either going to be CIA or NSA, isn't it?
CIA, there's too many now because there's Homeland, there's NSA. These are just American agencies.
Yeah.
FBI, CIA, just why? Why? Fucking nonsense. We are such a ridiculous country. I'm sorry for America, Charlie.
It's alright, they're probably listening to you anyway now, so.
Yep. So I think of the worst jokes. And I couldn't even get through that one with a straight face, but I was totally going to be like, yeah, sometimes I pick up the phone just to listen to the heavy breather listening to me. Such a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Slowly making progress on my computer here. Should probably wait. But I can't remember what that movie was called, and I don't remember anybody who was in it. It bothered me a lot. I'm afraid like what googling like young girl as a spy or things with that is gonna pull up. It's like, no, I don't need the black helicopters. Oh, Harriet the Spy.
I'm so glad we've not got screen sharing on, because I bet there's some real weird shit coming up on your screen right now.
No, I mean there really wasn't, but it's Google, so maybe they do a little bit of filtering.
Could do.
I just. Oh wait, no, forgetting Sarah Marshall. I was gonna say, oh, maybe it is Sarah, but yeah, I'd probably have to go through my files and see what it is, and I'd have to guess and just check. It's like girls' names. Regardless, I guess we should probably move on.
Yeah, because we've been talking for nearly an hour, and I don't even know what you've been watching, and you usually watch an absolute shed load.
Well, I do because I leave things running in the background a lot, and occasionally that leads me to getting angry with movies and just watching series, and that I've gone through one of those periods. So, because the last movie I watched on Netflix was Girl Most Likely, and I'm trying to remember. I think that was the Kristen Wiig movie, and I think we talked about that briefly. Yeah. But then I was like, I want to watch something lighthearted and plenty of it. And I wanted to make sure I actually. I ended up watching How I Met Your Mother, season 8.
Oh.
Because season 9 was so horrible, I wanted to have a good memory of How I Met Your Mother, and I'll watch season 9 again. But that got me thinking about like series I haven't watched lately. And Pretty Little Liars showed up on Netflix Instant. Oh, we need to stop and talk about that real quick.
Okay. Shoot.
I'm going to forget because I tried to bring it up earlier and I forgot. You remember how they used to try to rebrand, or they wanted to rebrand themselves before with Flickster?
I don't, but carry on anyway, as though I do.
Well, it was a huge thing, like, because back when Netflix used to be the only real streaming service, they were like, we're going to split ourselves up, and we're going to have one business for doing streaming movies, and then we're going to do another one for DVD rentals like we've always done. And we're going to keep Netflix as the DVD shipping business, and then we're going to do Flickster as our online streaming service.
Hang on.
Sure. I know, my impression of Muppets is horrible. It sends Englishmen running. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell this. An English bum. I don't know.
Sorry, I thought something was on fire, then it was just my dad leaving. Carry on.
Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to picture like your dad having like some crazy cool exit, like where he burns out the tires.
We can cut that out. We can cut that out, right?
No.
Live, you say? Oh shit.
Live, but they've started doing the rebranding again without the name. So they now have Netflix, which is done in the Flickster white and red.
Yeah, I noticed there's been a bit of an aesthetic rebrand this week.
Yeah, but you don't have this, so you probably don't know. Now that I think about it, because you only have the instant service.
Yeah, I was about to say, for context, Netflix stopped doing. Actually, I'm not sure Netflix ever did. There's a UK kind of equivalent called Love Film, which was certainly run by Amazon.
Well,
that did DVDs and games, but I think even they've stopped doing sort of physical copies now.
Well, this has my address on it, so I can't show the whole thing. But that's basically what the label looks like, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's basically the color scheme that the Netflix service has, the old red and white with the red background and the white text.
Mm-hmm.
So the DVD side still has that aesthetic. And there's actually a different logo now where it says dvd.netflix.com, which actually has that in the URL too, now that I think about it. So anyways, it's just real interesting. I wanted to make sure we talked about it briefly. Because there's not much else to say. It's a thing. But I started watching Pretty Little Liars again. But it's such an involved murder mystery show that like I didn't know where I had watched last. So I had like do research to figure out what episode to start on. But apparently I was caught up. So I just watched season 4.
Okay.
But it's such a wonderful little murder mystery show. If you like mystery stuff, that's the one for you because it's so complex. Because it's focused on these 4 girls whose friend was killed, and so the first couple seasons are dealing with who actually murdered her and who's pretending to be her now that she's dead. Because they keep getting like text messages and packages of written notes. And not to spoil who it is, but they actually find out, and she becomes a character more in the show in the last 2 seasons. But it turns out that someone besides her has started playing the game. So now they're back to another point where they've pretty much figured out who it is, but like there's like these little details that aren't matching up. So I think season 5. I think there's like 6 or 7 seasons of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to check IMDb to be sure. But
I've just looked on Wikipedia and it says that they have within the last couple of weeks just renewed it for 2 more seasons.
Oh my God, what are they gonna do? It's such a compelling show though that I can't. I can see this keep going because unlike How I Met Your Mother, this is a story about a continuing procedural life. Like the girls are growing up, they're getting older every year. They're getting ready to go off to college towards the end of the season that I've watched. But they still got someone like in the shadows, in the dark, messing with them. Unlike How I Met Your Mother, which had a finite end, Big Bang Theory, you would think would have like an argument for the first, but I don't know where they're going with it. I think they don't know what their end's supposed to be at this point. Sorry, you don't watch either of those shows.
This is the problem with so many shows that I want to watch but are at least like 40 minutes an episode. I'm never going to catch up.
See, and that's something else I've been wondering too. I've got a couple other things to talk about, but that's something else I've realized too, especially with games, because I mentioned that that the Steam summer sale is on, and I dropped a couple
Yeah.
dollars. Um,
How much?
it's over $200 right now. Recently, and I was looking at my next order because I don't just buy up video games. Like I wait for stuff to go on sale. And get them at like big discounts. So like in the summer and around Christmas, I tend to drop a bunch of money, but not too much, far and few between. Unless there's just a really good sale going on. But they're all games that like I found and I kind of wanted ahead of time. I don't really just, I don't know what that is, but I'll buy it because it looks cool. They're usually anticipated titles. But
That's not so bad then, I suppose.
no, it's still not great, but I realized that like a kid, someone younger than you even, gets brought into the world, and they've passed this time where like Friends was a thing, Big Bang Theory even, Red versus Blue, Mario Brothers, a Super Nintendo. There are people who are going to be alive now that have never seen or really heard about a Super Nintendo.
That's depressing.
It is. I'm like, what do you do? Like, do those people ever get caught up? Do you always just play games as one-shot experiences? Do you watch movies as one-shot experiences?
I think it entirely depends on the series. So for something I'm really invested in, such as, well, take the Bond series, for example. There's been 23 films, but because I'm so invested in what I've already seen, I've gone back and watched the older versions. I'm trying to think of other examples. And I can't. But things like, well, Game of Thrones is a good example because that's all anyone ever talks about. I haven't even started with that yet, and I will get to it eventually. But
I'm so happy. You let me know when you're gonna watch those. I will rewatch them just so we can have discussions.
cool. Breaking Bad, though, I never watched it the first time around. I've watched the first series, not massively into it, so I may just let that one go.
Yeah, that's not one that I'm excited for. I know people are excited, but these are the same people who are drawn into The Walking Dead. And,
yeah, that's something I've not gone anywhere near because I'm just not interested.
Well, I've read the comic, and it's so disheartening to see it come so far away from the comic, but never leave it at the same time, because it's not a good enough show to write on its own accord. It's why they didn't use original characters. It's why they didn't make an original story for it and just use the same universe. They wanted to draw in people who had read the comic and heard about the comic because it had been so popular, but they can't make it its own thing, so they just warp it. And people who have never read the comic get into it because it's still a really great concept, but the execution's a little weird. And then if you read the comic, you're like, oh, well, I see what they're doing. But I don't know.
Oh, well.
I don't discourage you from watching the show, for the record. I would discourage people from watching True Blood.
Oh, God, I tried watching that, and no.
Because as much as I love Anna Paquin, and for anyone who cares, there's quite a few scenes where she gets dressed down. But it comes so far away from the books that it's based on in the first season, like just like foundation breaking plot twists. That it's not the same show. You can't call it part of the same thing anymore. Which is where I think Walking Dead is very quickly heading towards.
Okay.
Game of Thrones is in danger of hitting, and that's where I think we're about to go with the Marvel movies. Oh yeah, how's your quest coming along with that?
No further developments. Next question.
Oh, Charlie, stop masturbating and watch your movies.
No,
Or better yet, masturbate to the Marvel movies.
Oh god.
Um,
I'm sure it's possible, but I'm not gonna try it.
Now, like, instead of the logical route where I'm like, yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow's kind of hot. She's like, oh, Jarvis, talk to me. Which actually, that could lead us into a discussion about Her. Have you even heard of Her?
No.
Her. I mentioned this because it came out on DVD recently. I watched it when it was in theaters, so I was that excited about it. It's a movie based on the idea of a guy falling in love with an operating system. It's essentially,
that sounds familiar, but I can't work out where from.
It's got Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson as the voice. So imagine Jarvis from Iron Man with Scarlett Johansson's voice.
Right.
But she's essentially talks to you just like she's a person on the phone.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so like that happens, and I mentioned in Surrogates a little bit, but or when my Surrogates video, I think it's one of those movies that's like pro future technology, or it talks about future technology, but then it twists up on us and kind of tells us like what a bad idea it is. So I'm so disappointing because like I wanted it to be one of those things where I walk out feeling good about the technology, and maybe it'd even be a romantic comedy, but it's really more of a romantic drama. I don't know. I don't know how to express what I'm feeling right now. Because I want it to be a better movie than it is. I think that's what it is. I think they shot themselves in the foot and they made it a bad PR scheme for anyone trying to develop those type of technologies. Yeah, I think that's what I'm upset about more.
Fair enough.
Because it's a real it's a product that could really happen. And I want it. I want it. Though I don't know whose voice I would use. Scarlett Johansson's really distinctive, but who? If you could have like a computer AI friend, whose voice do you think you would put in there?
Oh, I don't know. That's a question and a half.
Like immediately, I'm thinking Ellen Page, but
yeah. Although then suddenly I'm thinking about Beyond Two Souls. It's a great video game, by the way.
Not a video game. It's an interactive story.
Shut up. Same thing.
It's not. It's not. They're both software, and you people make me sad.
My life goal is just to see you curl up into a ball and cry.
It's not a good. It's a game without a game in it. That's
Minecraft
really what it
is a video game.
It is not. It's a virtual environment. That's really all it is. You're such a dick. But okay, and then for some reason, like, I don't know what got into me, but I was like, I want to watch nature stuff. So I was going to watch River Monsters. And I was like, let me find something that's like River Monsters. Maybe I can find something about people catching gators right here in Florida, because I live in fucking around dinosaurs now. And so I found The Turtle Man, Call of the Wild Man.
Okay.
There's 2 full seasons. of this guy from Kentucky. He's famous statewide, and he's famous for catching turtles in ponds. But he responds like like pest nuisance calls is what they call them. So like he'll dig out raccoons and skunks and possums and venomous snakes all over Kentucky.
Yeah.
And there's actually a couple where he goes down to like Louisiana to team up with some other people. Like he goes down there and he finds this alligator snapping turtle that's been attacking livestock. That was part of one episode, and then there's like another one where he joins up with Hogman and Turtle Man, and they go wrangle some hogs that are running around New Orleans. So that's interesting. But that did lead me to Gator Boys.
I've seen a few clips of that. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 much shorter seasons. They're actually here in Florida. Really, a lot more technical than I thought they were going to be, because I just finished watching Turtle Man, who's like, I'm going to go down there and get me a turtle. And then the Gator Boys are like, they're super professional. They're like, you do this, you do this, you do this.
You've got nets and poles and everything.
Well, you don't use net. Because not best case, but the gator can death roll in it, and then it'll just tangle up your net.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant hooks, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
is that Animal Planet, that one?
Or
is it?
I believe so. I believe Gator Boys is Animal Planet.
Yeah, because one of the things that I love about YouTube is that I'm subscribed to like Discovery, Animal Planet, and a couple of others. Because what they do is they put like 2 or 3 minute preview clips on YouTube, so I just watch a load of those.
Yeah, I had to stop because they're one of those channels that just put out a mass of content.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't deal with you anymore.
I'll probably be the same when I actually get a job.
Well, no, it's just because like if you regularly follow a channel, and they put out all this content that you don't care about, you're like, why am I subscribed to you? It's one of the secret formulas for YouTube, is your content release and how you manage your product, which is why I still don't know why this isn't a thing. YouTube should have released the ability for networks at this point, where you could do like youtube.com/ what's something you're familiar with? I'm going to use DeFranco Inc., even though I'm not a big fan anymore. But you should be able to do like youtube.com/ DeFranco, or DeFranco Inc., whatever they decide it's called, and that takes you to like Phil DeFranco's network, of which like Sexy Phil, For Humans People, SourceFed Nerd, they would all be sub-channels.
Yeah, that'd work quite well actually, but
yeah.
I don't know the logistics behind that.
Well, there's some minor ones and there's some major ones. The biggest problem is that they tried to do something like this, at least in name, a while back, where like if you subscribe to one person, when you hit the subscription button, like you would get all these other recommendations based on who you subscribe to because of the networks that they were involved in. So like, go ahead.
To be honest, I think that's how I found most of you lot. I subscribed to a couple, and it's like, you may be interested in X, Y, and Z, and I end up subscribing to about 10 or 15 people through that.
Oh, really? I thought that was way back when. I didn't know it was still going on.
Well, no, it's not anymore, but I say way back when. I've been doing this gig for 4 months now. Well,
I'm talking about like 4 years ago almost. Like back when TGS was a thing, and Maker Studios was the station, because that's where I remember it from. Was like I subscribed to like the station, and then like 30 YouTubers popped up,
right.
like Shay Carl and Lisa Nova and oh my God, Olga K, Shane Dawson. Oh man, Dave Days, all those guys from back in the day, who started in on that. But I'm kind of glad that's a thing still, because I thought it was a good feature. But you should be able to actually organize it, and not for the purposes of doing collaborations. Like I would never suggest like we make We Are Movie Club a thing, like a network, and then make us sub channels of that. But for me, I would like a House the Camera I built as like a network, and then put my personal channel, gaming division, and Jam on Toast all under that.
Yeah, for you that'd work because you have more than one channel.
Yeah. But for collaborative purposes, it would be nice to be able to like give ownership of like We Are Movie Club to someone else, because like right now I can't do that. Like I'm on as owner, but I can't like give it to another network. I can't give it to someone else. I can't transfer the channel.
Hmm.
Because like eventually I think I would, if I've ever got serious about it, I think I would rebrand and I would do like HTKB underscore whatever it was, like underscore media reviews for like I'd replace Jam on Toast with that. And I don't know what I do with Gaming Division because I'd want to rename it. Because I'd want to, and I definitely want to split out board games and video games, or gaming software, whatever it's called. Digital interactive experience software, the dice.
Yeah. Sorry, it's taking me a second to catch up now.
No worries. But okay, just the last thing I watched. I did end up watching season 4 of River Monsters. But as amazing as the first couple seasons are, by season 4 it's just like watch them catch fish here. Because those are the biggest like freshwater fish almost anywhere.
Yeah, you can only do so much of that particular formula, can't you, until it just gets dull.
Yeah, where he's catching like stingrays and eels. Oh my god, I'm so creeped out by eels now. Those were the amazing ones. The first couple times he catches a catfish, where he goes bull shark fishing, all that stuff's really good. But yeah, I think it may have run its course.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what was the one I used to watch a lot of. Memory's gone. I'm getting old.
Really, you're getting
Yeah.
old, Charlie?
Yeah. No, I can't remember what it was, but there's a lot of things like that where, these kind of series they get to like however many series and it just gets sewed up. Storage Hunters, that was it, because that's one of the few American ones we get over here. That's on TV quite a lot, but once you've seen like 2 or 3 seasons, it's just the same thing. It's just you just change the sign of the city they drive into.
Yeah. Well, what was surprising, even though it was much shorter seasons, Gator Boys, it was pretty interesting regardless of what gator they were catching, because usually they were in a different spot. There's actually a couple where they went back to the same spot. But like every time watching them catch a gator, that's an interesting process to me. As ridiculous
Certainly
as it
something I wouldn't
sounds.
be able to do.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted your opinion of that. Like as an Englishman.
What ho?
You the hoe. But what is your thought process on that sort of thing? Like the idea of someone wrestling a gator.
It's number one, it's not something I'd do, and number two, it's something we don't have to deal with over here, so it's not ever something that really you get to think about. It's like,
well, you guys don't have like Crocs or anything up there?
no,
Is it
you
too cold?
occasion. I don't know. I just don't think there's the climate for it. Occasionally, you'll get a tiny little snake in the grass, and I'll crap myself. But then it's like, you live in a country where there's like masses of snakes and all sorts of shit. It's just
I'm trying to think if I want to let this become a nature show.
you live in a country where there are bears. The only
there's
bears
not
in this
bears
country
in-
are in zoos. No, as far
Then
as
what the
I'm
hell
aware
was up in Brave? Did you see Brave?
no.
God damn it. Well, that was like a huge thing in Brave because it was about Scottish people.
Well, I mean, there were at one point, but I don't think there are wild bears in, well, certainly my area of the country anymore.
Well, what happened to them? Are they just in Scotland, or did you guys kill them all?
I think they've just been driven out.
Driven out, like that they got in their cars and left, Charlie. What?
Yes, quite literally, yes.
Where do you get driven out on an island?
Do you know what? I don't even know anymore.
I'm just picturing a bunch of Englishmen like with their little cane sticks or whatever. It's like, go on, shoo. Enough with you.
Just push them onto a boat and then just push the boat out of the harbour and just leave it.
See, in my picture, there wasn't even like a boat. There's just the bears looking at them and they're looking at the water like, but it's wet. And then where'd Paddington Bear come from if there's no bears in England?
He came from Peru.
Did he really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the backstory of that. Yeah, he came from Peru. So he's not even English. He's an illegal immigrant, so he should probably be deported. But
he's an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, that's a story for another show.
That's hilarious. I never knew that.
Here you go. Hang on. Yeah, the polite bear from darkest, deepest Peru. There you go.
That's hilarious. God, I'm trying to fix this shit. Let's see. Okay, so I'm a lot of stuff I watched. I can't say I really know what's coming up on my plate for the next few days as far as watching stuff. I am watching Castle right now. That's an actual murder mystery. He's a famous writer in that universe. And he teams up with a top-notch police detective team in New York solving murders.
Okay.
So, like, it all started like he weaseled his way in with the mayor because he wanted to do research for his book because he's a writer. He's bored in life. So he's like, let me join like some real detectives and get some on-hands experience on how to solve it. And like they said no. And then for whatever reason, like one of the murderers started copying one of his books. So she's like, I got to deal with this guy again. So like he ends up being a valuable witness or asset on the crime, and then because of that, plus his influence with the mayor, maybe I got that beginning bit backwards. But regardless, at this point, because of his experience with them and his connection with the mayor, he ends up getting them to force the detectives to work with him. So he follows them around and helps them solve crimes, and he's actually pretty good at it.
Okay.
So that's all because he writes crimes for a living. If that makes any sense at all.
Just about. I'll have to see if I can find that. Let me see if it's on Netflix.
It is here, but
yeah, that doesn't mean much.
Yeah, that's something else I get sad about sometimes. I think about it, I'm like, oh, there's no guarantee that it's gonna be like that for Charlie.
There's about 3 times more stuff on American Netflix.
Like, I totally wanted to play Neil in some Hearthstone, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, I've got to train up an entirely different deck of stuff just because European servers are different from the American servers, and none of the data correlates.
Oh, right.
So if, like, you and I wanted to play Hearthstone together, for instance, like, we'd have to jump on, like, the servers on another continent. One of us would.
Make it even. Right, okay, hang on then. Castle's, is that the right one? Is it a 2-season thing?
Castle is on, I'm watching it on Hulu right now.
I think there is something. There is something called Castle.
Season 6 is the season I'm watching.
Oh, right, maybe not then. I don't know.
It's an ABC show. I don't know. Weirdness and things. So we did do things kind of out of order today for the most part, but it wasn't bad.
No?
Very glad to have you back.
Well, it's
But then
gonna
I'm going to
it's
be gone on Friday.
yeah, it's gonna be me carrying the show for 2 weeks. I don't know how the hell I'm gonna do that.
Um, I do encourage
Carefully.
you to hit me up and see if I got some time to jump in for a half hour or something.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
see. I'll see who's around.
maybe if nothing else, like I can live stream some of VidCon to you to this. That would actually be interesting to see if the frame rates hold up.
Yeah, see, yeah. If you can get Wi-Fi there, I can try and because you can do hang. I know you can certainly do Hangout on sort of Android devices.
Yeah, I've done it on my phone quite a few times.
We should so try that.
Um, yeah, so I may not be able to talk very well. I'll have to make sure I bring headphones with me, like earbuds. Um, because I've got to pack up my tech and try to make sure it fits in one bag so I can take it on the plane with me. Because there's no way I'm checking my stuff. I'm not letting fraggedy throwers
No, right, yeah.
damage or steal my tech.
No,
Um,
that's a fair theory.
I may have to put the tripods in the bag, but I don't even have real luggage. I think I'm going to use my army bag.
It's not real.
Well, it's not like a suitcase, so I'm either going to like use an army green duffel bag, or I'm going to use this big black U.S. Army uh, gym bag, essentially,
Hmm.
and I'll throw a lock through the zipper. Um, actually, with that in mind, I may actually use the green duffel bag, uh, just because I can secure that a lot easier.
I'm glad I could help you come to that decision.
You're vital in my decision-making processes, Charlie.
I'm
Hope
glad.
you know that. All right, let's go ahead and end this, I guess. Unless you got something else you want to.
No, just carrying on as normal.
Yay. We can talk a little bit more after, but you wanna do you wanna do you wanna do the main sign out or me?
I you do it.
Okay, go ahead, do yours then.
Okay, so thank you for watching. We've had a couple of viewers, I think. Yeah. But if you want to find me, do feel free. At the Charlie M on Twitter. I am youtube.com/snowdog140. My format's changed slightly in the last couple of weeks, so you may notice a bit of a difference. So go and check that out if you want. Other than that, just keep it there because that's where all my stuff's gonna go. Bye.
All right. Hey, we're not leaving yet. I'm Kamurai. You can't see any of the stuff. Usually I have a lower third here that's not working. Yeah, right here-ish. But I'm Kamurai. You can hit me up on Twitters at Kamurai25, or you can find me on youtube.com/Jamontos528, where I do my media review stuff. I was this close to doing a one on Avril Lavigne's Hello Kitty, by the way.
Oh
Um,
God.
totally forgot to talk to you about that, but maybe we'll just chat offline.
That just have you ended with you punching the screen, surely.
No, we'll talk. But if you you like anything that you see here, or like talking about movies, hit us up on the Twitter at WeAreMovieClub. Let us know that you want to get involved, that you want to watch movies with us, or just do your movie reviews that we do every week, our Pickscope on Friday. Include the hashtag WeAreMovieClub. I think that's it for us. Thanks for watching.
Bye.